Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the 3 of 7 podcast. This is Chad. Hey, before we dig into today's episode, I want to talk about a really simple topic, and that is initiative. And I'm going to tell a few stories about kind of what has this on my mind, and it's going to come from an angle that you might think I'm crazy, but anyways, over the last few weeks, I keep walking in on people in public bathrooms that don't lock the door behind them. And it drives me crazy. So I was at the doctor's office the other day. And so it's a public restroom, guys. I don't know if this public restroom has 4 or 5 stalls in it, if it's a single person bathroom. So it's not on me I don't feel like it's on me to knock on the door and ask if anyone's in there. So I just walk into the bathroom at the doctor's office, and there's this elderly lady sitting on the toilet, and I'm sorry, but it wasn't a pretty sight. And just over and over again, this keeps happening to me in restaurants and gas stations, stuff like that. And I'm thinking, these people, they don't have enough initiative to turn around and lock the bathroom door behind them. And kind of what put the icing on the cake was yesterday, I was coming back from the mountain. We took a group of men out, a group of my role players out to do a proof of concept mission for the finishing school. And on the way back, we stop at a convenience store, and I walk in to use the restroom. And of course, I just open the door and go to walk right in, and there's a young man in there, and he gets angry at me for walking in on him, when it was actually his lack of initiative to lock the door behind himself. And the whole time, this dude, verbally, he's being disrespectful. And the whole time I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, dude, I want to love you so much. Why are you making it so hard on me right now? I don't like to fight. I don't like to get in verbal confrontation, physical confrontation. That's just not my style. So, of course, nothing happens. And I just let this guy go on his rant and then just let him leave the store. And then I go in the bathroom and do my business. But when I walk in, I look at the door, and sure enough, there's a lock right there on the door. I don't know. It's just astounding to me, and I think that everything starts with initiative. You have to take the first step, no matter what your goal is, no matter what your mission is. And why do I relate this lesson back to such a simple thing? It's because things like initiative and things like integrity, they have to start with the simple things in your life. It has to start with the simple everyday things in your life. You have to master those things. If you don't have the initiative to lock the bathroom door behind yourself, how are you going to have the initiative to take the first step in an ultra marathon or in a training cycle leading up to an ultra marathon? It just doesn't work that way. So that's what's on my mind today. Do you have the initiative to lock the bathroom door behind yourself in public? And I hope you all do. We got an awesome group of people listening to this podcast. So, I don't know. You guys all post a little thing about this on Instagram. Go on there and let me know what you think. I hope y'all don't think I'm crazy after telling you what's going on in the depths of my mind. But anyways, today's episode is with a good friend of mine named Jeff Holloway. Jeff is the owner of Crossfit Rome, which is the CrossFit gym in the town that I live in. He's a good friend of mine. We run a lot together, and we have some great conversations out on the trail. Jeff is a solid man of God. He is a entrepreneur. Obviously, he's a business owner. And he just has a lot of knowledge based around those topics, but also based around, obviously, health, fitness, nutrition, those type things. So we kept having these awesome conversations on the trail, and finally one day I just asked Jeff, I said, hey, man, let's sit down and record a conversation between each other. And, of course, we didn't cover every single topic that we probably could have, but we got a good base of information out and got a lot of knowledge from Jeff. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Jeff's an awesome guy. So here he is, Mr. Jeff Holloway.
A lot of times people are have a tendency, all of us are, everybody has a tendency to be short-sighted with what's here now in front of us versus if I maintain the current trajectory, where am I headed? I ask that a lot. If you keep doing what you're doing, where are you going? A lot of times people are like, I don't really like where I'm going. You can change that.
All right, Brother Jeff, welcome to the 307 podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for making the time to come on, man. You know, what I love about you, Jeff, is I guess what drew me to you was when we did that run the other day. And, you know, just the conversation that we had and talking about the community that you've built here, you know, within your gym. And you are, in my eyes, you are a influencer here within our community. And not just in my eyes, that's in actuality, that's what you are. And I think it's important for people to understand that there are influencers within their own communities. Like, I think people get so wrapped around the fact and think that they have to find their inspiration online or find their motivation from some distant land or somebody that might be unreachable. But, you know, if you're struggling with something or you're searching for something, there are influencers within your own community that you can seek out. And, you know, you are one of those people. I know I had told you one of the things that I kind of was lacking in my life was, you know, relationships with people, other men within my own community. You know, we've got a broad reach with social media and podcasting and all this stuff, but it's just not the same as like that close personal relationship that you can build with men and the friendships that you make within your own community, man.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
It's so special, you know, what you're doing here and what you've done. And again, we can't thank you enough for coming on, brother.
Well, I appreciate you having me.
We got so much to talk about, Jeff. I want to start off, man, with kind of the entrepreneurship lane.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool what you have started here, especially in this is a rural community, man.
Yeah, it's a smaller town.
Yeah, and not that Rome is like it's not like a one horse town, but you know, I think you said when we were running the other day, I think you quoted the population of Rome, and you said you only see like a certain percentage of those people.
Yeah, there's like, I think somewhere around 100,000 people in our county.
Yeah.
But you really live within about 4,000 people. It's a bubble.
Yeah.
So you're going to see people at the grocery store. You're going to see people at church. You're going to see people walking around the street. So it's a pretty tight-knit community, but it's a pretty small community.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with you, man. And I think that's just, I think a lot of rural communities are like that. You've got a certain portion of the population that just kind of keep to themselves, and they're just kind of in that live and let live mode where don't bother me and I'm not going to bother you.
Yeah.
So I see that a lot, you know, in our area, but it's with what you've built here, it's cool to see how many people are actually now willing to get involved and come out and be involved in something bigger than just, you know, what's going on their little farm or within their little, you know, property. So, So you were a coach at CrossFit UCS.
Yep.
And you, at some point, decided to branch off and start your own gym here, CrossFit Rome, and that was in 2014. What kind of spurred that transition for you, man?
I think there's several facets there. Part of it was the way in which I had in my head the type of organization that I wanted to build. I think spurred out of trying to start something new. It was through a series of leadership changes. It was through a series of spurring from my brother-in-law, who it definitely has that entrepreneurial spirit, to try your hand to till the ground to see if you can make something happen. It was terrifying, to be honest with you. But the vision that I had for what I wanted something to be came from trying to do something new.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. And it had to have been to leave that place of, I guess that safe place as a coach there at the old gym, and then to step outside of that and start your own thing. I mean, I could only imagine how uncomfortable that made you, man. And then again, going back to starting a gym like this in such a rural community where you've got a group of a large portion of the population that don't even know what CrossFit is. They're not so familiar or into working out. What was, you say, the main challenge that you faced when you started this gym, in relation to its location, it being in a rural community? How did you overcome that and really put out and portray the message that you wanted to portray and draw people in?
I think one of the biggest challenges is the perception of what people think CrossFit is versus what we actually do here sometimes are not in alignment with one another. The way in which we train athletes is a very holistic approach versus I feel like sometimes people think we just fight lions in here. It's not what we do. It's taking people, regardless of where they're at, and trying to move the needle in their life. It's a very holistic approach to going, we're trying to change people's nutrition. We're trying to change the way people move. We're trying to change the type of training that they're doing. We're trying to change the way in which they talk to themselves, think about things, the narrative that they speak. We're trying to change the way they connect with other individuals. It's not just about lifting a bar. So I feel like a lot of times when you would talk about CrossFit, the perception of what CrossFit is, high intensity and functional movement, is always done with a barbell. It is, you do it until you throw up, is not necessarily reality. And I'm still battling that today, is trying to keep our heads down and doing what we do to battle the perception versus the reality of what we actually do.
Yep. And that was one of the main things that I thought about when, you told me that you had this gym here in Rome, as I thought, man, how did he get that across to just your average everyday person living here in Rome? Like, how did you convince these people to walk through the doors and create the environment that you have created here that is welcoming for everyone, man? So I think that's an amazing thing that you've been able to accomplish that. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about, as far as the entrepreneurship lane, you also hold you have a master's degree in physical fitness, right?
Education. Yep.
And education. So, and you have a teaching certificate for the state of Georgia here. So you could have easily went and just become a teacher, man. So what drove you toward, being a business owner instead of kind of going that more traditional route with your degree and being a teacher?
That's a great question. The ability to pour into adults' lives proved to be more challenging than I thought it was going to be at the beginning. And now it's something that I'm very passionate about. I still honestly miss the influence that I do have with high school students from my previous job of working as a strength coach at that school. But the ability to pour into adults' lives is something that's now very important to me. Moving the needle is in an adult's life, sometimes I back up and I oftentimes think about, and I talk to the coaching staff here, is there's not a ton of opportunity or ability for one adult to pour in to another adult's life. Because as an adult, you're always supposed to have your crap together at work, at home. You are supposed to be in charge. You're supposed to know what to do. And as a coach, you have the opportunity to go, you can do this. This is challenging. Don't give up. This is metaphors for life. Because what we do here, ideally, I want to be able to take these concepts and do what's really important, which is outside the walls of this gym. So the further I progress into my coaching, the further working with adults is something that's really important to me.
Mm-hmm. And so it sounds like too, you've found a way by impacting the adults and by impacting the parents in a positive way, and by building them up and kind of moving that needle, as you say, in turn, you're impacting the lives of all the children that belong to the parents that you have in here in the gym, man.
It's very generational.
Yeah, it totally is, man. No, I love that, Jeff. So the coolest thing to me about your gym, about CrossFit Rome, compared to the other gyms in Rome here, is really that, again, I just keep hitting on it, the brotherhood and the community that you've built here. I mean, I came in yesterday to meet with you. It was New Year's Day, and you guys had a workout that morning, New Year's Day. And how many people did you have turn up?
A little over 40.
A little over 40 people you had turn up for that workout, man. Yeah. And it was a holiday. People had probably been out late the night before. And yet you still have 40 people show up for this workout. So that to me is a testament of the environment that you've built here, that people want to come here and interact with really what's probably some of their best friends and brothers and sisters that have been, friendships that have been built here with you. You've provided the platform, man, is what you've done. And you talk a lot about fitness being more than just lifting a bar. And that's something we talked about on our run. And you almost had it lined out to like there were certain pillars of fitness, or pillars that tie into fitness, almost from a body, soul, spirit type aspect to make you a more well-rounded human being and not so much just an athlete. So can you talk a little on that, man?
Absolutely. There's a philosophy that we've adopted. Ben Bergeron from New England first, I think, came up with it, and it's very synergistic to the stuff that we really believe in. Is there's a difference between fitness and wellness. Fitness fits inside wellness. And the pillars of wellness that we think about are things like nutrition, things like sleep, quality of sleep, things like training and kind of the way that you move, the mindset. And mindset are things, the way your internal narrative is super important. The older I get and the more I talk to athletes, the more that I feel like that is just pushed under the rug. And that's the untapped potential of getting into somebody's mind. This better than most, is that whole philosophy of getting to the way in which people see the world and the way people connect with one another. And if you can use fitness as a platform, so our methodology, or our purpose statement is transforming lives through fitness. And fitness is the mode in which we get to speak into their life. But if you're going to view it as a holistic platform, it's not just about training. It's about getting better in all 5 of those areas. Mm-hmm. And some people are going to be nailing a certain area and really struggling with another area. And that's where we're going to lean into. I'm a firm believer of leaning into the places in which you need to change the most is the fastest way to holistically move forward, rather than just nailing what you're good at and kind of sweeping what you're not good at under the rug.
Yeah.
Because it's really uncomfortable looking at the things that you're not very good at and then really, really intentionally trying to work on them.
Oh man, I love that, Jeff. And could you give us a specific example, either of yourself or a member here where you've kind of leaned into something that you weren't good at? Like specifically, where does that fit into this, whole picture of wellness that you're talking about? I know exactly what you're talking about, but give the listeners an example.
Well, I'll pick on me. I can list several examples just this year. 2019 for me was a good year of leaning into my narrative. I feel like a lot of times when people are living life, they are doing the best they can to just have their crap together, show up well. But if you were to look inside their mind, if you were to hear or concentrate on the words that they say, for me, it was one of those that negativity, lack of self worth, and kind of being able to believe that you have value is something I've really worked on this year. Mm-hmm. And I can even name several examples inside the gym of some great conversations that I've had along that same line. Because a lot of times when you meet people, you don't know what they're struggling with. You don't know their story. You don't know their background. And you operate off of these assumptions or the ability for you to think you know what's going on just because you know where they're at. And that's what I've learned in my own personal life is leaning into the way in which I view myself directly corresponds with the way in which I show up in situations. Because a lot of times the whole ability to show up well oftentimes comes out of the ability to look at things accurately rather than the way you feel about things. And that's been a big life concept that I've been working through this year alone. And that's what I'm very, very sensitive to right now is listening to, because I'm working on that as a coach. I'm very sensitive to the way in which people are talking. Is it a negative comment? Is it a positive comment? Is it when they come in, man, this workout sucks. It's like, what I'm hearing you say is this is an awesome opportunity to get better. And it's a running joke now. They're like, I'm going to always pick on their vocabulary, but what you say oftentimes is what you're going to get. Because I've been working on that, I'm very sensitive to identifying that in others.
I love it.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes total sense, man. And you talk about, your self-worth or your internal dialogue, how you value your own knowledge and your own message, how that affects you showing up well and performing well. And I see that in my own life, man. Say I got a speaking engagement with an audience of 2,000 strangers, basically, and I've got to go up and deliver a message. If I don't see the value in that message, then it's not going to be delivered with the genuineness and the forcefulness that it should, to my audience. So you definitely got to see the value in your own knowledge, in your own experiences, all those things. And do you think that the people that you surround yourself with help you see the value in what you possess?
Absolutely. Like the people here inside the gym, the friends that I have are great at what we talk about, calling out the glory, like calling out who you were originally meant and designed to be. Feel like they're inside anybody's traits, personality. There's a balcony side and a basement side. And I feel like a lot of times people put so much pressure on the basement side, the things they don't like, rather than focusing on the balcony side and being able to surround yourself with people that spur you on to your potential is huge. Because if you're left inside your own head or have people around you that are constantly negative, like the trajectory of your life is only going to be a downward spiral.
Yep.
So I'm very careful about who I am in a community with. And Lord has blessed this community, and we have a phenomenal community and people here. My friend group, the community that we have is very intentional about making sure that we call people in to who they can be, even if they don't believe it currently.
Yep. So how important is it for us as brothers, us as friends, to I guess tell each other how important our own experiences are, man, and I guess I get it from like you yesterday, the conversation that we had, man, and you were telling me you were basically in a roundabout way telling me how strong the whole message of like, don't die in the chair. And like by you telling me that, and you being an influencer, someone that I look up to, it gave me, like, it strengthened my belief in my own message, man.
The thing that I'm working through right now with a group is the difference between validation and affirmation. When we are searching for validation from others, you're only going to be disappointed. I'm a firm believer that validation is from the Lord, but affirmation is from brothers. And that affirmation is calling out something that's already currently there. And that's what I was trying to communicate yesterday. It's like your message needs to be told because it's powerful.
Yeah.
Because it's one of hope, but also it's one of like keeping your head down and keeping on moving and not dying in the chair. And the power of the unspoken word, or the power of the spoken word, is this concept that people are hungry for right now. And that just to spur you on, the more people that hear it, the more lives are going to be changed around it. So being able to affirm people and what they're doing is an important process for me right now.
Yeah, man. And I think that that's a really great challenge to kind of throw out there for anyone listening to this is, when you see someone today that's important to you, take the time to tell them about what they're good at. Mm-hmm. Take the time to tell them about the aspects of them that are important and have fed into your own life, because just like you telling me yesterday that my message was important, everybody needs to hear that, man. Like I'm a confident guy. You're a confident guy, but nobody's untouchable. I mean, everyone, no matter what position you're in, no matter how much money you have, no matter how much influence you have, everyone needs to hear a little bit about what they're doing right. And that just, I think, helps set their message, set the foundations of their message and gives them more belief to share their message, man. So
totally,
I love it, man. We talked about kind of those pillars of fitness and how it's more than just lifting a bar, man. You're trying to take the things that we learn here in the gym and apply them to regular life. So here within CrossFit Rome, man, what are some things that your clients learn through a group class, whatever it may be, that they can take and transfer into their real life when they go home or they go out to their workplace or things like that?
You and I had a conversation on our run the other day about purposefully putting yourself in challenging positions. And we talk about the ability to do a burpee when you don't want to do a burpee is challenging for sure, but it doesn't touch going home and like parenting when things get tough, or looking at like situations and sicknesses and financial things and relationships, and being able to take a concept of getting through a challenging workout is just a speck or just a glimpse of the ability to push when things are tough and also get confidence to not give up. Because really the ability for people to learn to fight, to learn to not give up, to learn to go, you know what, that was tough, but I got through it. If I can give that voice of hope to somebody in here in a 15-minute workout, but the ability to go home and fight for their family, like that's huge. And the concept for us as coaches to pour into members to use CrossFit as an example, to purposefully put ourselves in a position of discomfort, because that's really what it is. It's uncomfortable. To discomfort, to be able to put themselves in positions that actually are hard. Being able to transfer that skill is really, really important. And we touch base on like, why do we run? Why do we do CrossFit? Like, why do we pour ourselves into situations that are uncomfortable when we don't have to? Because there's going to be times that come that are outside of your control. And you need to come in kind of with the confidence going, I've gotten through hard stuff before. We can do it again.
I love that, brother. And that's what self-inflicted adversity is all about. And I look at it this way, Jeff, is, going back to my time in the SEAL teams, man, we trained so hard during times of peace. When we weren't downrange, we were back home training. I mean, we were pushing the envelope, and we were training during those times of peace. We were training like we planned on fighting in the real world. So when we got downrange and things were out of our control, we could conquer any situation that popped up. And I think it's the same thing that you're fostering in here, man. You're inflicting adversity on yourself. You're training during those times that are within your control. This is a controlled environment. So when life gets hard and it's out of your control, you have the skills that you need to conquer that real life situation, man. So train during times of peace, train like you fight. Take this stuff seriously, because it's going to propel you through life, when it becomes out of your control. And speak to teamwork too, Jeff, because I know this has got to be a team environment. So speak to that, man. How do you foster that teamwork within CrossFit Rome, and how that transfers into real life for your clients here?
Yeah, the one thing that I'm fascinated with right now, and kind of looking at the past year, is how do you develop a high performing team? Mark Miller, who works at Chick-fil-A and he's written several books, has this philosophy that we've adopted here is, if you can take kind of a triangle and write community on one side and skills on one side and talent or the kind of the right people, and be able to foster that triangle, that's where results are going to come up from outside of those three components. So in here, if you can get good people that feel like a family and give them the skill set, regardless of what that skill set is, if we're talking about a coaching staff, if you can get the right people on board, if you can foster a sense of family and you can give them the skills of coaching, like, you're going to have a team that loves well, that performs well, and yields a good result. If you can do that here in a microcosm of a gym, people are going to feel like they're a part of something big. And then they're going to take that, and then that's where outside the walls of the gym going, you know what? It's challenging here, but I'm part of a team. Because everybody wants to be part of a team. I am a firm believer that people that say they don't like other people still want to feel like they're a part of something.
That's human nature, man.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. And I think that's one of the big things that people miss about, especially, people that have served in the military. That's when that goes away. I think that's one of the things that people miss the most, is being part of something bigger than themselves. I think that's essential for the human condition.
Yeah,
is to be part of something bigger, and it almost just gives you something to fall back on when everything else in life may be kind of spiraling out of control. If you've got that sense of being part of something bigger than yourself, then you can always fall back on that. And that's something that's steady. That's something that can surround you and help lift you back up, to wherever you need to be, man. And when we talk about community, we talked about community earlier. That's essentially what community is. It's being part of that group that's bigger than just you as an individual. That'd be my definition of it.
Absolutely. When we talk about community, I feel like there's kind of a surface level definition of community, and then there's a really deep level of community. And community isn't this, everyone should feel like a buddy. Sometimes that's pleasant, it's nice, but one thing that we really push here is somebody needs to know you. Like you, like the things you don't want to talk about. Everybody's carrying around stuff, and stuff can be as broad as you can make that term to be. But the community is making sure that you are intentional about leaning into trying to be known by somebody. 1, 2, 3 people. I'm not talking about get on a school bus and tell everybody about but air your junk. That's not what I'm saying. But having a community is fostering the sense of safety to the best that we can do it in a group setting. But then I'm always leaning into the ability to have somebody truly know you, or at least a piece of you, and have enough people asking questions about like really what's going on with you. Islands are dangerous. If you can get somebody alone and isolated and feeling like they've got nobody, destruction's coming. Like we are not meant to be by ourselves with nobody knows who we are.
Mm-hmm. Brother, you hit the nail on the head. That specifically, what you just said, is what I was talking about earlier that I was lacking in my life. So that sense of community, that the way you just described it, having another person that knows specifically who you are and is asking what's going on? How you doing, man? Like that can't be achieved through social media.
Yeah.
That can't be achieved through some long distance relationship. That's got to be within your local community. These have got to be men and women that you have face-to-face time and relationships with, man. And man, the way you described it is that's exactly what I was talking about that I think I've been missing in my own life. And you know, for many reasons. One, because I moved around so much with the military, it's really hard to put roots down because you're gone, you're traveling so much. But I'm just so thankful now that I'm in the place that I'm in to be able to develop those type of relationships like you just described, man.
Yeah.
You hit it, brother.
Yeah, we have a rule. I have some brothers that I do life with, and there's 4 things when you say, how are you? You cannot say great, good, fine, and okay. You have to find a different word. Because a lot of times when you say, how are you doing? Your default answer is like, I'm good. How are you?
Yep.
We're in the South. That's what you're supposed to say. Versus, no. Chad, back up. How you really doing? Mm-hmm. And finding those people is something that we put a premium on.
Gosh almighty, man. I love that, brother. You nailed it, brother. We're going to shift gears real quick, Jeff. This is something also that we discussed on our run together. So you're a certified precision nutrition coach. Mm-hmm. So first of all, what is precision nutrition?
Precision nutrition is a nutrition-based counseling program, a nutrition program out of Canada. And if you'll go and look, I firmly believe they are in the field of nutrition. They are leading the way. They are a kind of a behavior or a habits-based nutrition program. So it's not necessarily all about this is the right way to eat, the wrong way to eat, but it's more about building and fostering solid habits because what you continually do is kind of what you're going to get. And being able to go through that program, for anybody who's interested at all in nutrition, I cannot recommend that program enough to give them the resources to really kind of pour into people around them and help them. If you change somebody's diet, you'll change their life. Firm believer of that. So,
yeah.
That's what precision nutrition is, and what I've done with them is just gone through their level 1 course online. It has several steps that you go through, several chapters, you take tests, just a big test at the end, and then being able to adopt those principles to be able to help foster solid nutritional habits. It's not a diet. When a lot of times people are saying keto and zone and paleo, and these are philosophies, and all of them are great, and all of them have worked for varying individuals, every single one of them. But at the end of the day, I really like the habits-based approach that precision nutrition brings to the table.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on what my next question was going to be, and we're focusing on nutrition here because exactly what you just said. If you can change someone's diet, if you can change the way they're eating, the way they view, again, not diet, not being like keto or like, like the holistic approach of how they eat, you're going to change their life, man. That's so important. And My next question was going to be, what is your opinion on all these diet fads that are out there? I mean, you see one, it's like every 6 months, another one comes out and people are swearing by it. And I don't know. I mean, I've never followed one. What's your opinion on it, man? You kind of hit on it.
Nutrition, I jokingly tell people when they say, hey, what should I eat? So that's a broad question. This nutrition is an unnailable subject. It's an unnailable subject. There is no perfect for anybody. There's something that works and something that doesn't. If keto works for you, nail it. Keep trucking. If paleo is your thing, if zone is your thing, if old school, I mean, we can go way back. If it works for you, it's consistent and it works with your life, go for it. For me, I have seen people that go to the extreme sometimes have a lot more challenge staying with it. And the best nutrition, the best diet that you don't stick with is not a good diet, regardless if on paper is perfect.
Yep.
So my philosophy is meet people where they are and move the needle forward.
I love that, brother. I love it. And so what's your, I mean, you talk about if it works for you, what's the best way to kind of find what works for you as an individual? Is that just through experimentation? I mean, would you recommend having a coach specifically for nutrition to kind of help guide you through it? I mean, how do you find that path? How do you find that specific diet that works for you, man?
That's a great question. So let's say you call me. You want to sit down with me and talk about nutrition. I'm going to say, great. And you say, I would like to gain 100 pounds of lean muscle and do a physique competition. That is massively different than coming to me and go, you know what? I kind of want to lose 5 pounds this year. The level in which we have to coach those two end results is going to be different. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm going to take somebody and I'm going to ask them, what are you willing to do? That's a really important question with nutrition. So if I have somebody who comes in and goes, I want a 15 pack, like there isn't any such thing as a 15. I don't care. I want as many abs as I can get. And the LGN diet, the look good naked diet. I said, okay, what are you willing to do? Nothing. I don't want to change anything. I really like chips. Okay. And I want to eat them at every meal. That's going to be challenging. Because what they're willing to do is butting up against the results that they want. I'm oftentimes talking about the expectations in which they want the result to be. So what they're expecting and what they're willing to do need to be in alignment with one another. So I'm going to say, hey, we can be really strict and we're going to weigh and measure our food and we're going to be very sensitive to macros and we're going to measure everything as far as like body measurements. We're going to do biometrics. We're going to do blood work. We can do all of that, and we can dial in such a specific kind of program based on a very, very specific outcome versus somebody else who comes in, general fitness. I'm 45. I haven't exercised in 15 years. I'd like to lose a little weight, and I'd like to start exercising more. That's awesome. It's great. We can start doing some metrics. Let's step on a scale. Let's do a few measurements. If we have the opportunity to go do some blood work, that'd be awesome. We don't necessarily have to, but we're just going to start cleaning some stuff up. We're going to eat a little less. We're going to add some vegetables. We're going to add some protein. We're going to cut down a little bit on some carbs. The results are still being met by both individuals, but the process in which we get there, one takes a lot more discipline than the other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's so I think that's a principle that can be applied throughout everything in life, whether it's making money, whether it's within your business, within your fitness goals, how your expectations have to align with the effort that you're willing to put into it. And I can just think of examples of that in my own life, man. I ran a 100-miler this past September, and my expectation was to win this race. But I wasn't willing to train 100-mile weeks for, the 6 weeks leading up to the race because I had other stuff going on in my life and I wasn't willing to make that sacrifice at the time. I didn't win the race.
Yeah.
The guy that won the race, he had the same expectation as me. He's actually was a guest on our podcast, Noah Cochran. Mm-hmm. So his expectation that day was to win the race, and he was willing to put in the effort it took. He trained, I think his biggest week was a 150-mile training week, and he beat me by 2 hours. Mm. So his expectations aligned with the effort he was willing to put into this event. I just think that that's a principle that is so applicable throughout life, man.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that we definitely got to keep in mind when we set a goal for ourselves. We need to immediately following, or even before we really formulate the goal, we need to come up in our own heads with, okay, what am I willing to put into this? What am I willing to sacrifice from a time standpoint, from a money I mean, you talk about even with diet, you got to factor in the cost. Mm-hmm. I mean, what are you willing to spend on fresh, whole foods? What can you spend from a monetary standpoint toward that? So everything weighs into it, brother.
Absolutely.
I love that concept, man. I was going to ask you, man, is there an optimal diet for endurance and CrossFit type athletes? But, you kind of talked about how specific it is to each individual. But are there any just kind of just broad spectrum kind of bits of knowledge that you could pass on to our listeners that are CrossFit or endurance athletes, just kind of standards that they should maybe set in their day-to-day, man?
Oh, absolutely. Whole foods, not too much, mostly plants.
Okay.
Any solid nutrition. Here's what's really interesting. Any program that legitimately works for long periods of time all have the same foundation. Whole foods, all of them based on whole foods. Not too much, and mostly plants. If you look at any big, long-term, sustainable, consistent, successful nutrition program, all of them have that bedrock, okay? So then you can start getting into the science of, are we out running 100 miles? Are we doing just high-intensity interval training? Then we start getting into the nuances of how do we fuel the body for the activity, how to recover from said activity. And then that's where making sure we're eating enough. That's where we can start playing around with where your main carbs come from. This is where we get into, do we have enough protein in the diet? And then that's where we can start tweaking. But whenever I'm talking about just long-term nutritional principles, I'm going to say, is your diet consists mostly of whole foods, things that are naturally occurring? Can you pick it? Can you kill it? Can you trap it? Can you pick it up off the ground, right? Are you eating an appropriate amount? And we talk about this a lot. When the appropriate amount, most people are like, don't overeat. That's for weight loss, absolutely. But also with endurance athletes, a lot of times overtraining and lack of eating is just as detrimental. It's like, are we recovering well? What's our energy like? Are you just tanking the next training run? That's where we're going to start bumping some of that stuff up and paying attention to that. And then mostly plants is huge, and you just can't get away from it. We're like, I know I need to eat vegetables. We're actually about to start doing a portion of our wellness challenge has nutrition in it, is kind of that 800-gram challenge. So that's a nutritionist out of Colorado. E.C. Sinkowski came up with this program, is the 800-gram challenge is eating 800 grams of fruits and vegetables a day. And we're going to start measuring that for 6 weeks. Because if you take in enough fruits and vegetables, you can get away with not eating as clean, so to speak, clean, using that in quotations, so to speak, because you're still getting a lot of good quality nutrients into your diet. I'm always going to try to get people to eat as clean as possible. But with that, those are the concepts that we're always going to fall back to regardless of what nutrition program we're talking about.
Yep. And, I think the biggest excuse that I hear when you talk about a whole foods diet, at least from people within my inner circle or even within my family, is just, it's so expensive, man. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
So my wife and I, we both eat whole, just exactly like you said, pretty much whole foods, mostly plants. I eat a lot because I train so much. Bro, on just the two of us, I bet we spend, I'm going to say $300 a week on groceries. So it is expensive, but is there anything better you could invest your money into, man?
Yeah, you're going to start getting into these conversations that people don't like.
Yeah.
Good food costs money. There are cheaper ways to do it, but I'm not going to split hairs there. But if you are getting to the point where your life starts being drastically affected by your weight, diabetes, for your some of your biometrics start going south, like you're still gonna pay something somewhere. You can do it now or you can do it later. Like medicine's expensive. The ability to start getting into major health issues is expensive. And those are still costs. You can pay for it now as a preventative measure, or you can pay for it later when unfortunately things aren't necessarily ideal. So it's coming somewhere.
That's it, man.
I feel like a lot of times people are very have a tendency. All of us are. Everybody has a tendency to be short-sighted with what's here now in front of us versus if I maintain the current trajectory, where am I headed? We ask that a lot. If you keep doing what you're doing, where are you going? A lot of times people are like, I don't really like where I'm going. You can change that, but you're going to pay somewhere.
Yes, dude, I'm glad I asked you that question, man, because I couldn't have explained it any better. And that $300 a week that my wife and I spend on groceries, we look at that as an investment, man. Yeah. It literally is. You talk about how expensive healthcare and medication and stuff like this is, and people within my own family that are getting into their late 50s, early 60s, and they're forking out hundreds of thousands of dollars on surgeries and prescriptions, and then they feel terrible. They don't have any quality of life, man.
I think you nailed it there. The quality of life is the thing that nobody talks about.
You can't put a price on it, can you?
You can't. It's super subjective. But quality of life, I get razzed sometimes by some folks, not in the gym, but why are you spending all the time training? Why are you spending all your time with exercise? That's not going to make you live any longer. Well, let's say I live the same amount of time that anybody else is, and I'm going to die the day I was supposed to die anyway. Up till that point, my quality of life is going to be better. And you can't put a price on that. Like, I feel good right now.
Same here.
I could be the same thing, and my body would hurt, and I felt crappy, and I didn't like the way that I either felt or looked or performed inside those three categories. Because everybody makes changes with nutrition based on one of three things: either body composition, performance based around some type of activity, or wellness based on what their blood sugar's doing. Somebody's going to make a decision on one, if not all three of those. And if I can move the needle positively in all three of those now, why not?
Oh, totally, man. And that's why I won't go out here, man, and eat a Martin's biscuit, dude. Yeah. It's like, and I think too, when you make this change and you start eating the right things, you become more conscious of how you feel. So if you're in a perpetual state of just kind of feeling drugged down and fatigued and low energy, if that's a perpetual thing, you become insensitive to it, and you forget what it was like to feel vibrant and healthy and energetic. But when you make that switch, man, and you relearn what it feels like to have that just vibrant life like you had when you were a child, and you've got this great energy and And then when you go and eat something nasty or something bad for you, it makes you feel terrible. But I think people have forgotten what it feels like to feel good, man.
And you'll talk to people that have a pretty clean diet, pretty consistent training, and pretty good sleep, and you'll talk to them about that time. You know, everybody goes, I'm going to eat this meal, and I know it's probably not going to be the best for me. And then the next day they feel absolutely terrible. I've been there. A ton of people have been here. They eat the cheeseburger. Like, cheeseburger was so yummy. Yeah. And then the next day you feel terrible. If that's your norm, you don't ever have the feel terrible part.
That's it, brother.
It's just the norm.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I love it, man.
It's all about balance.
That's it, brother. Well, Jeff, we've talked a lot about definitely the body being, on the new, and all this stuff, man, the body and the soul it's also tied closely together, because your nutrition affects your body, but it also takes discipline to, accomplish and to stick with a good nutrition plan. Same with, the stuff you do out here in the gym. Yeah, you're training your body, but every time you, like you said, you do that burpee when you don't feel like doing it, that's also sharpening your will. What you want to do or what you don't want to do. And that's where we get the soul aspect that comes along with physical training or self-inflicted adversity. So we've hit a lot on that, brother. I want to talk to you a little bit about the spirit, Jeff. And, the other day we started our run off with a prayer, man. We had a lot of good fellowship out there. And I want to talk to you kind of about your testimony, where you're at in your spiritual life, and kind of how you nurture that aspect of yourself. And I was reading through your bio yesterday, and I see, like a lot of people, especially in the South, you grew up in church, man. And but you the next bullet under that was something happened during your first year of college that I guess made you a little more serious about your relationship with your Creator, with what you view as God. So I was wondering if you could just share that story with us, man. Kind of what made that shift in your spiritual life to, I guess, to just solidify your faith.
Yeah. So here's the vulnerable part, right?
Yeah, man. Totally.
So I grew up in church. I would say that I equated a lot of being a Christian with being good. So kind of that moralistic deism of going, just be good. And if you're good, then you're good, right? A lot of anxiety around that, because you're not going to be good all the time. So anxiety was a thing that constantly plagued me. Worry, I was a professional worrier. So dated a girl for 3 years in high school, and I really found that like my whole happiness was that she was happy, and my sad if she was sad. And it got to the point that she became more of what I was obsessed like emotionally about, rather than the Lord really going, Jeff, you're focused on the wrong stuff. Went to spring break, Panama City, sitting on the beach. Not a great week, not a great place to be as a college student.
I've been there, man. Yeah.
Yep. So I'm sitting there, and there's just all sorts of stuff going on. And I'm sitting on the beach, and it's the last day it was spring break, my freshman year in college. And I'm sitting on the beach. It's raining. It's cold. There's all sorts of stuff going around me. I won't get into that. And I remember as audible as I've ever heard the Lord go, Jeff, hot or cold, man, hot or cold. And that verse terrified me. He said, because right now you're just kind of warm. And I vividly remember, like I'm sitting here today, it is that decision was going, all right, Lord, if you're real and I'm to do this and I'm to be serious, then I really need to kind of call into who you called me to be. And I need to move forward with the belief of going, we got to be warm. I mean, we got to be hot. This warm stuff's not going to work, because you're just miserable there. You're in like this no man's land. So coming back from that trip, started reading the Bible. The Lord kind of separated me from a lot of my close childhood friends for a little while. And that was kind of my time in the desert. And then brought me back with those guys after some time of kind of some formation stuff. And from there, kind of the whole trajectory of my life changed. I would describe myself as a very lazy, unmotivated person in high school, which is something I still am troubled with today, because I'm massively a different person now than I was when I was, as a high school student. But a lot of people can put themselves in that category. And currently really trying to strive after the Lord's heart, stepping into who He has designed me to be. I feel like a lot of times, as a guy especially, talking about masculinity and who you think you're supposed to be, and if you're not hitting that metric of what you think you're supposed to be, you're just going to constantly be disappointed or be anxious, or not step into kind of treating and tending your domain well. So I'm going through this process right now called Battle for the Men's Hearts. And the whole process is really to get in tune with who Jeff really is. Because I feel like a lot of times, if you're really going to be honest with people, they feel like they're pretending. And I felt like I was there for a long time, and being able to step into that now of kind of to chasing after that community with the Lord, and also chasing after who I'm really designed to be, has been a very freeing process for me. And that's where I'm currently at now. It really, the Lord was gracious to me. About a year ago, I read a Brené Brown book that was really powerful for me, of just being able to step into kind of what the vulnerability is, and kind of what my story is, and what my narrative is, and being able to call into or step into really where the Lord would have me be now.
So number one, man, it sounds like you're being very intentional about that process.
Yes.
Like you're intentionally working through this, man. And I think that you talking about essentially getting your own ship in order. Man, there's a lot of talk out there these days around leadership, and everybody wants to hear about leadership, man. In my opinion, brother, the most essential part of leadership is having your own ship in order. Like you have to first become a good leader and steward of yourself before you can ever expect to go out and lead others. And man, for me, it works broad spectrum in whether it's business or being a coach or being a spiritual leader. Whatever lane, man, you've got to focus first on getting yourself in order, man.
Totally agree with that.
I love that you're being intentional with that. And you talked about, not being what I would call lukewarm.
Yeah.
So, being either cold or hot, man. When you made that shift, Jeff, and you decided, okay, I want to kind of rekindle that. I mean, what are some intentional things that you did when you heard that voice and said, hey, man, you're lukewarm. You need to either be hot or cold. You made the decision to heed that calling. What are some things that you intentionally did to rekindle your relationship with Christ and become on fire again, man?
Yeah. I believe the first thing is I was very intentional who I hung out with. That was big on fostering this new, because at that point as a Christian, I was a baby. Like, you got to be careful about who you hang out with. And the next thing is I was real intentional about the stuff that I read, the things that I listened to, because the mind's really, really important. And it's being able to be intentional about the things in which you look at, the things in which you read, the things in which you surround yourself with. Even as a college student, that was probably the first big step that I did, is put myself in a position to be around people that I thought were doing it the way that actually should have been done.
So what you were feeding yourself with,
Yes.
basically.
Very, very important. Yep.
Got you. That's awesome, brother. And how about, you talked about, you kind of started digging back into the Bible and God's Word when you decided to make that shift. I mean, how important is that to you even to this day from your spiritual side? Is that something that you still do on a daily basis to kind of nurture and continually foster and build your spiritual connection with God?
Yeah, that's I would say now more than any other time, to deal or to combat with some of the anxiety that I struggle with, being in the Word is very therapeutic for me. It's very centering. It's very stilling. It's kind of that. We were talking about this Ruth Haley Barton book of Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership. She talks about this concept of if you take a mason jar and scoop out the bottom of a river, you've got some sand, you got some rocks, you got some water, and you shake that thing up. And more often than not, that's how you're trying to walk through life, trying to look through this jar. And it's like, it's the only when you can put that jar on the table and let that sediment settle, that you can actually see clearly, think clearly, operate clearly, show up well. For me, reading is a very important time for me to kind of quiet my jar of river water. And so now it's more so than ever, very calming for me. And if you know me, I'm a pretty high strung person. So reading's very good for kind of quieting the storm, so to speak.
Totally. And it works the same way with me, Jeff. And I know I've said before, but I try to get that done first thing in the morning for me, man. Like you said, you let everything settle in that jar so you can see clearly and proceed throughout the rest of your day.
Yeah.
So for me, it's essential for me to take care of that first thing in the morning. And then it just seems like my day, goes so much smoother. I'm able to see my purpose better. I'm able to see what is my job for today? What am I supposed to accomplish?
Yeah.
And literally hear from God about what my purpose is for that day. And reading the Word helps me with that, man. So what does the future look like for CrossFit Rome, man?
That's a great question. I feel like we're in a transition time right now at the gym of me stepping out as the head coach to a new opportunity for me to pour into the coaches, which I'm really excited about. Is instead of a lot of my energy and effort be into the members in the classes, I'm trying to very intentionally put my time and effort into the coaches to make sure they are set up for success, to love on the members well, to have the skill of a coach, to feel like they're loved on. I'm trying to make sure that they feel like they have the resources, and so that's what's taken a lot more of my time and energy. And the other thing is, we touched on the precision nutrition, is being able to really get a structured program off the ground right now to put people in a better place of success through intentionally providing some accountability around some of these behavior changes with nutrition. So I would say those are my two biggest things moving forward, because we have an awesome team here and we have an awesome community, and just making sure that I can do what I can do to show up well to help those folks do what they do is going to foster this circle. Keep it spinning.
That's it, man. That's it. And it's what I'm getting from that, Jeff, is you're structuring your chain of command. Yeah. Like that's the way it has to be. You have to be, there for your coaches, and then in turn you have to pour into your coaches and then allow them to go out into the gym here and do their thing, man. So, but I imagine, we talked a little bit about that on the run. You have been so invested in this. This is like, this is an amazing living thing that you have created here. I imagine that's got to be a hard step, kind of, not that you're stepping away from it, but relinquishing some of the influence and the impact to the coaches, and then you not necessarily having to be involved in every single relationship. Is that a hard step as a business owner? How do you get through that, man?
It's been quite challenging, because I am now getting to the point that I don't know absolutely every single person here, which is challenging for me because I am structured to love on folks. Like, that's what I really enjoy doing. And then also the fear of not being able to get the job done is actually like that's something I have to battle and go, no, that's not true. Like, just continue to pound the stone daily, and the results will take care of themselves. It's a big life lesson I'm learning right now is like, ultimately you're not in charge of the outcome. And we're talking about stepping back in that coaching role and more to a coaching the coach's role. Like, you cannot, without a shadow of a doubt, be in control of the outcome. And that's been really challenging for me. It's like, the outcome's not up to you. Like, what you do is up to you, but the outcome's not. Like, you just got to show up well. And that's kind of where I'm sitting now, is being able to manage some of these fears that are starting to rise up of being stepping away, not getting the job done. Really has used those focus when those things come up is really going, just keep your head down. Do what you're supposed to do today. Just take care of your ship today. And with that, I'm always in awe of just the community that we have, the coaches that we have, the people that are here. Like, it's working.
Yeah, it is.
It's really encouraging. So.
And that's the way I think it's designed to work, man. I think that you'll find, and I think you're already finding, that kind of the more responsibility that you, and the more trust that you put into your team members, and the more you allow them kind of freedom of movement to, I guess, shine through with their own strengths and their own knowledge, the better the big picture is going to be. Like, yeah. I've always found in my own life and my own business, the more I can relinquish, I guess, control to people that are experts. If, for instance, this podcast, we'll turn this podcast over to a guy that is an expert at producing a podcast.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be better than I could ever do if I, kept a grip and I wanted to control this entire process. It allows you to stay in your lane. It allows you to get better within your lane, and it allows everybody else freedom of movement to really shine through with their talents and their abilities, man.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to see what CrossFit Rome is already something. I walked in here yesterday, man, and I was just blown away by what you've created, but so excited to see what it's going to become. So excited about being a part of it in the future. I definitely want to get plugged in here with you guys and help any way that I possibly can. And I want to thank you, Jeff, for having the courage to step out and to start something like this and to become an influencer within this community, an influencer that's providing positivity, that's providing an environment to not only for the self-inflicted adversity, but for to learning how to be a team player, a team member, to creating that environment to where people within our community can have a sense of being part of something bigger than themselves. I think what you've done here, man, is just it's a game changer, brother.
Well,
the community wouldn't be the same without what you've done here.
Well, I appreciate it.
No,
thank you for that.
Thank you, brother. And I guess we'll wrap it up. Jeff, you got anything else that you'd like to throw out there, man?
No, not for now. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, no,
I'm happy you're coming to Rome.
Yeah, man.
I'm pumped about it.
I'm pumped too, brother. And I want you also, Jeff, to just kind of put out where people can find you and follow you on social media, or for our local listeners, how they can find more about CrossFit Rome here. Yeah, we have a website, crossfitrome.com. My number's on there, email's on there. We have a page on Instagram, Facebook, CrossFit Rome. So, yeah, that's trying to keep our impact. My philosophy for that is making sure that we just love and pour on the members that we currently have. So if you go to social media, that's kind of what you're going to see is what we do and the people that we currently have. So it's kind of the snapshot of what we put out there for folks. So yeah, but any questions, feel free. Got my phone on me pretty much all the time. So email, do the best I can to respond to those timely manner. Mm-hmm. So yeah, brother, I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, no, roger that, Jeff. Thank you so much, brother. All right, guys, this is the 3 of 7 podcast. Nuff Said.
This podcast was produced by Your Social Gathering. We hope you enjoyed. If you are looking to increase your digital marketing presence or elevate your digital assets, check us out at yoursocialgathering.com.